Welcome to the Explainer. If you're a DevOps engineer or an SRE, you already know keeping an eye on your infrastructure is absolutely crucial. But let's be real for a second. As your infra grows, so does the sheer number of dashboards you have to maintain. It gets to the point where your browser tabs literally look like a barcode, right? You can't find anything. Well, today, we're going to completely cure that dashboard sprawl. We're taking your static, rigid setups and transforming them into dynamic, interactive powerhouses using Grafana variables. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, from static to interactive. Second, creating Prometheus query variables. Third, connecting the panel query. Fourth, stacking an environment variable. Fifth, mastering multi-value in all. And finally, number 6, the on-call scenario.
All right, section 1, from static to interactive.
So, let's define the core problem that plagues literally almost every growing engineering team. I want you to honestly ask yourself, how many static dashboards are you currently maintaining? Just imagine the absolute pain of managing 50 identical dashboards for 50 different servers. You know the drill. Every single time you want to tweak a threshold, change a color, or add a new metric, you have to do it 50 times. It's a massive drag on your productivity, and honestly, it's just an easy way for configs to drift and break. And this is exactly where we need to shift our mindset. The static approach, it relies on duplicating everything and hard-coding metric names or server IPs directly into your queries. It's just exhausting. But the dynamic approach acts exactly like a universal remote. You build one beautiful, highly functional, reusable dashboard, and by driving it with variables and drop-down filters, that single layout adapts instantly to different contexts, whether that's different servers, environments, or regions, without you ever needing to rebuild it. I actually love this quote from our source material. It says, "Dynamic dashboards are not about visual complexity. They're about reuse and flexibility." The magic here isn't about slapping 50 flashing widgets on a screen. It's about using variables as the very foundation of your flexibility. And simply put, a variable is just a placeholder that changes its value at runtime based on whatever you select.
Moving right along, section 2, creating Prometheus query variables.
Let's get our hands dirty and start building this step by step. So the crucial point here is that a query variable doesn't rely on some hard-coded list that you have to go in and update manually. Nope. Instead, it dynamically fetches a list of values, things like your current server names, pods, or namespaces, directly from a data source, like Prometheus. This is huge because it ensures your dashboard always reflects the real-time live state of your environment. If a new server spins up, boom, it automatically appears in your dropdown.
All right, here is exactly how you do this in the Grafana UI. First, you click that gear icon for dashboard settings. Head over to Variables and click New. Let's name our variable Job. For the data source, we'll select Prometheus. And here is the real magic part. In the query field, we just type label_values job. This specific function reaches right into Prometheus, grabs all the unique values for that job label, and instantly populates them into a nice, clean dropdown right at the top of your dashboard.
Next up, section 3, connecting the panel query.
Now, creating the variable is only half the battle, right? We actually have to inject it into our visualizations. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how our PromQL changes between the top and bottom examples. Up top, you've got a hard-coded query explicitly asking for the web job. If you wanted to look at the API job instead, you'd have to go in and manually edit the panel. But look at the bottom. We replace that static web string with our interactive $job syntax. Notice we also change the equal sign to equals tilde. That's a regex matcher. It basically tells Prometheus to listen to whatever the user selects in the drop-down menu. Oh, and we also swapped that static 5 minutes for Grafana's built-in rate interval variable, just to give us those perfectly smoothed graphs.
Once you've got this wired up, changing the dropdown updates every single connected panel in real time. This is absolutely a game changer for team collaboration. It's highly secure, it's efficient, and it lets anyone on your team, from junior devs to product managers, explore the data safely. They don't need full dashboard editing permissions, and more importantly, they can't accidentally break your carefully crafted queries.
Okay, let's build on this in section 4, stacking an environment variable. Having one variable is great, sure, but real-world infra is complex. Notice in this matrix that we don't just have standalone services. We have services running across completely different environments. You've got dev, staging, and prod. And inside of all of those, you have auth, API, and DB services. If we just dumped all those services into one giant dropdown, yeah, it's going to be a total mess. We need these to work together.
which sets the stage perfectly for dependent cascading dropdowns.
And this brilliantly illustrates the whole concept of chained variables. In Grafana, variable queries can actually contain other variables. So here's the play. You create an environment variable first. Then, in your service variable query, you reference that environment variable. Now, when a user selects prod from the first dropdown, the second dropdown instantly filters to show only production services. Not only does this prevent users from picking invalid combinations, but it massively reduces the number of queries Grafana has to send to your backend. It keeps your dashboard lightning fast.
Moving on to Section 5, Mastering Multi-Value and All.
So sometimes you're going to want to view multiple services side by side to compare performance, right? Well, in your variable settings, you can actually check a box to enable multi-value selection. But there is some slightly tricky behind-the-scenes formatting magic going on here that you need to know about. When you pick a single value, Grafana just sends it as a straightforward string. But when you select multiple values, let's say web, API, and DB, Grafana automatically converts them into a valid regular expression string, joining them together with a pipe character. And by the way, this is exactly why earlier we made absolutely sure to use the regex matching operator in our PromQL query. You can also enable an include all option. But I need to give you a massive warning here. If you have, say, 10,000 pods and a user just clicks all, by default, Grafana is going to try to concatenate all 10,000 names into one giant string. Honestly, this will absolutely crush your Prometheus performance. It's brutal. To fix this, you must use the custom all value setting and define a wildcard regex, like .star. This simply tells the database to fetch everything matching the wider label, completely bypassing that massive, slow query string.
All right, let's bring it all home. Section 6, the on-call scenario. Let's move to a real-world situation and see how this builds into something incredible. Picture this. It is 2 a.m. The dreaded PagerDuty alarm wakes you up in an absolute panic. Now, at 2:01, you aren't hunting through 50 different screens. You just open your single, trusted, dynamic dashboard. At 2:02, you toggle the environment variable directly over to prod. Instantly, the dependent variables update. By 2:03, you multi-select the two services that are throwing errors, instantly comparing their CPU spikes side by side on the exact same panel. Literally, in mere seconds, your variables have isolated the problem. Now, if you want to get a real feel for this without, risking your own production environment, I highly recommend checking out play.grafana.com. It's this fantastic, completely safe, interactive sandbox. You can hop in there, practice building query variables, test out the regex syntax, and practice chaining dropdowns together exactly like we've discussed today. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to think about. Are your dashboards acting as rigid, static status pages that take you hours to maintain? Or are they dynamic, interactive investigation tools that empower your team to solve complex problems in seconds? If it's the former, well, it is time to stop duplicating panels and start implementing Grafana variables today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy dashboarding.